objectives for the fourth quarter in our APP. If I could then move to the next slide, please. So our purpose of today is for us to then present to the Standing Committee on Appropriation the impact of the budget, the adjusted budget, the COVID-19 interventions, and our financial performance for the fourth quarter. If we could move to the next slide, please. So perhaps by just starting out and saying that the department has indeed revised its 2020-21 annual performance plan to make provision for COVID-19 and to actually ensure that we then have a response to it and the adjusted budget. The department has also responded to government strategy on gender-based violence, and the slides below would also provide for us a summary of the indicators that would then respond to COVID-19, targeted in supporting municipalities, and then just looking overall at our program of the fourth quarter and what our performance was generally from a financial and also from an APP perspective. We will provide you with some highlights. If you could then move to the next slide, please. Okay, so due to the number of indicators that had to be added while we still were also in continuation with our initial projects, we've also had to review some of our indicators, and we've had to also then co-sign those back to our operational plan. If you could move to the next slide, please. So some of the indicators that specifically then relate to the COVID-19 interventions to municipalities are as follows. Under Program 1, there are two indicators, that is indicator 1.6 and 1.7, where indicator 6 actually looks at automation of 4 of our business processes, and then indicator 1.7 actually looks at 100% spend on the COVID-19 business continuity plan. And the rationale for those two inclusions is that we want to ensure that we do have business continuity in our ICT operations, and also that we are able to then provide for all the COVID needs or requirements, such as PPE during the lockdown, but also, for example, ensuring that we enhance our ICT, specifically around Microsoft and MS Teams. Under Program 2, we've had to look at our economic recovery plan, and we've had to look at ensuring that we implement this economic recovery plan in the 52 district sites. And the reason for this is simply that we've had to respond to the local economic crisis now, and we're also looking at that post-COVID. Then under Program 3, we've indicated 3.3. Here it's to do with our funding model for local government. We need to ensure that we develop this and ensure that it's also approved. So it's all to do with rethinking or reimagining our municipal finance, and really just working with National Treasury to stabilize the municipal finances and also minimizing the impact of COVID. Under indicator 2.4, we've also had to look at drafting of our district and 8 Metro 1 plans, specifically to ensure that we cover the emerging priority areas for government. And the rationale for this is that we want to also further support our response to COVID-19. And then just indicator or Program 4, indicator 4.1, where we're saying 10 municipalities will be made a priority for disaster areas so that we can support and prevent and just prepare and mitigate any disaster risks that may arise. And we believe that this indicator remains relevant with an emphasis on COVID-19. Under Program 5, there are 2 indicators here. The first one is the percentage spend on MEG, specifically looking at sanitization and urgent repairs and maintenance of our water and sanitation infrastructure. And here we're saying we want to actually then manage the allocation, monitor the expenditure against MEG, especially those allocations that are in response to COVID. Under indicator 5.3. We needed to ensure that 25,000 jobs are then created through labor-intensive infrastructure maintenance in the municipalities. And on this item, we are actually responding to the President's Employment Stimulus Initiative of reducing unemployment. And within our operation plan, we've also then linked that back to our community works programs. Participants will be trained on COVID-related initiatives. And in this one, the rationale is that we also need to ensure continuity in providing work opportunities while fighting the spread of COVID, and I will be telling you more about that in a later slide. If we could move to the next slide. And on this item, we are actually... So the allocations that we've then provided in terms of the disaster relief grant for 2019-2020 are as follows. Throughout all the provinces in Eastern Cape, as you can see that the amount allocated was 44,551,000, and our expenditure to date was then 3.1 million. For the Free State, the amount allocated was 12 million. The amount that has been spent is 6.6. For Gauteng, 115 million. And so far, the allocation has been exhausted. In KZN, 138 million. It's also been fully spent. In Limpopo, 42 million, also fully spent. In Mpumalanga, 33 million. The province is finalizing the implementation interventions. In the Northern Cape, 6 million was allocated with the spend of 1 million to date, and the implementation is still underway. Northwest, 18 million, and the allocation has been exhausted. In the Western Cape, 53.2 million, and the expenditure sitting at 7 million. So in all, from the actual allocation for 2019-2020, the expenditure has been at 367.5 million. If we can then move to the next slide, please. And maybe just to say, these are all transfers of funds that have actually been done to the province at the end of March and beginning of April 2020. Just with regards to the drought and the allocation to the agricultural sector, we've also transferred 138 million in total. And as you can see, what it was actually provisioned for under each of the provinces. So I will just use one example where Eastern Cape, we were looking at borehole development and fodder production. And I think the important thing to note here is that the funding does come from our PDRG, and DCOG then transfers this funding to provinces, and these transfers took place on the 6th of July. If we could move to the next slide, please. On the Municipal Disaster Relief Grant, you can also see the allocations for municipalities in respect of provinces. We're sitting at 150 million, and the expenditure to date is sitting at 8.4 million. So DCOG then had transferred the funds to municipalities on the 8th of May, and implementation is underway. And reports have been received from 4 provinces today, which is Gauteng, KZN, Northwest and Western Cape. And engagements are still underway with respect to provinces on reporting and accounting for these allocations. If we could then move to the next slide. This is to do with some initiatives that we've undertaken as a department to support municipalities. So where there's been poor implementation of post-audit action plans, our mitigating measures is that we have worked quite closely with National Treasury, who at this particular point are actually championing the MFMA with some coordinators within the provinces. And we've included in here the provincial treasuries, SALGA, the department ourselves, and the Auditor General. And we therefore have this forum that is there to actually discuss, but these discussions are not limited to our municipal audit outcomes, and the resolutions and actions are then cascaded to provinces and to the regional CFO forums, especially those that have been convened for the municipal financial officials. The department also intends to roll out a project on data management to actually assist selected municipalities to also improve accuracy and completeness of their billing. And what we also do as a department is that we monitor and support municipalities in the development of the implementation plans, post-year audit action plans in collaboration with provinces and National Treasury. We can then move to the next slide. Another key issue raised is the financial health deterioration, and some mitigating measures here are the development of the funding model for local government, and the department has this in our APP for this year. And really, it's to address the financial challenges that the municipalities face in collaboration with the National Treasury and SALGA and other role players, as I mentioned earlier. And some of the things that we are looking at is the development of plans for installation of prepaid meters in municipalities, rolling out a campaign to actually address the culture of non-payment and to encourage consumers to pay for municipal services. Also, just to support identified municipalities to develop financial recovery plans, and then just also supporting municipalities to also reduce their unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and just the coordination, reconciliation of debts that is owed to municipalities by organs of state, and then just developing a single framework to guide and support capacity building in municipal revenue. The department also intends to roll out a project on cost of supply study to assist selected municipalities to set cost-reflective tariffs, and we are also supporting some selected municipalities with the development of a simplified revenue plan to assist them with revenue collection and enhancement. Supporting some selected municipalities with the development of a simplified and we are also supporting municipalities with the implementation of debt management and credit control policies and bylaws. We can move to the next slide, please. And some other key issues that have been raised are the aging infrastructure, which contributes to water and electricity distribution losses, and also the poor development and maintenance of infrastructure. Due to poor planning, weak project management, and mismanagement of conditional grants. Here we have our agency MISA has been established, and we've actually through MISA deployed district technical support teams to further support struggling municipalities with a focus on building internal capacity to plan, deliver, operate, and maintain our infrastructure. If we move to our next slide. So there have been some key issues raised on delivery of infrastructure and maintenance there too. So there's been a lack of infrastructure maintenance plans. So some of the mitigating measures through MISA is that we've looked at water and sanitation infrastructure condition. We've done, water and sanitation infrastructure condition assessments, and we've also then looked at some operations and maintenance plans for implementation in districts. And another key issue raised is poor planning of projects and weak project management. So MISA, through its technical support plan, have then focused on the infrastructure management value chain, and MISA through IDNSC operational plan also provides for the details of targeted areas and median support, and MISA also seeks to assist in all stages of projects from project identification to project closeout. Another key issue raised is high and poor management of distribution losses. This then looks at mitigation measures for water conservation, and then just our MISA's demand management plans have been developed for 9 districts with an intention to provide strategies that would lead to the reduction of non-revenue water. And currently MISA is supporting municipalities with the implementations and the recommendations. If we can then move to the next slide, please. reduction of non-revenue water. Okay, and then this is the final slide on initiatives that are undertaken on some key issues raised on delivery, infrastructure and maintenance, on poor quality of service in municipality and resulting protests. Our mitigating measure here is training, and the IDMS support is provided at district level at this stage, and IDMS covers infrastructure, long-term planning, program and project management, and also just operations and maintenance management. From a capacity building perspective, we've got municipal infrastructure, technical capacity building, and there's technical training courses for municipal officials, recognition of prior learnings also taken into account with the Young Graduates Program, which is on the go at the moment. And then we also have the municipal capacity building plans and apprenticeship program. With the Young Graduates Program, which is on the go at the moment. And then we also have the municipal capacity building plans and apprenticeship program. With the Young Graduates Program, which is on the go at the moment. And then we also have the municipal capacity building plans and apprenticeship program.
Chairperson, the DG.
Sorry, my unmute button is coming on without me touching it. So my apologies. So then just moving along to the impact of the adjusted budget on the department's ability to deliver on the mandate. And just looking at the allocations per program, a voted appropriation for the department was 96,233,988 rand. And through the total adjustments appropriation, we received an additional 10.9 billion. So our overall adjusted appropriation is sitting at 107,188,495 rands. So the 2021 special adjustment budget also includes amounts that have been suspended and added to the department, and the voted amount increased with a net amount of 10.9 billion. If we could then move to the next slide, please. On the special adjustment allocations per economic classification, you will see that our total voted appropriation was 96.2 million, with some significant changes around the unforeseeable and economic and financial events. You will see that the total adjustment appropriation net effect, specifically on our current payments, was 28.474 million. Even though the overall adjustment that we received had a net effect of 10.9 billion. I think what's also then important to really note is, if we move to the next slide on the special adjustment allocations, is how that 28.8 million is actually made up, or that loss of income to the department for this year, is that in goods and services, we had a reduction in non-essential goods and services such as traveling, subsistence and catering, venues and facilities. So there was an amount that was then repurposed with the total amount less by 20 million. And then under municipal systems improvement grant, we've had a reduction in the number of capacity projects in municipalities by 8.474 million. And if you also then look at all our other entities to where we do transfers, you can see that we've had some reductions in that, and therefore coming to our total, sorry, I didn't mention that we had then received the local government equitable share of 11 million, and then our total special adjustment, the net effect on that being the 10.95 billion. If we could then move to the next slide, please. Okay, so just with regards to repurposing for local government, the President had announced the funding of the 20 billion for municipalities to provide for emergency water supply, increased sanitation, looking at public transport facilities, and just providing food and shelter for the homeless. Of the 20.4 billion, 11 of that was then transferred through the local government equitable share. The remaining 9.4 billion was obtained through repurposing of the existing Division of Revenue grants as follows. So the Municipal Infrastructure Grant, which is a direct conditional grant by 4.4 billion. The Integrated Urban Development, which is also a direct conditional grant of 190 million. Urban Settlements Development, which is a direct conditional grant of 2.2 billion. The Public Transport Network conditional grant at 1 billion. The Regional Bulk Infrastructure, which is the conditional direct and indirect grants at 401 million and 409 million. And then the Water Services Infrastructure, which is a direct conditional grant of 689 million. So it's to be noted that the 20.4 billion available to municipalities has been provisioned through our existing budgets. This is not an increase in our budget, but rather a reallocation of funds from other government programs to provide for the municipal response and interventions as part of the overall government's response to COVID-19. If we could then move to the next slide. It's also then important for the committee to note that under the employment stimulus package, the President had in April announced an economic recovery stimulus package of 500 billion. And out of the 500 billion, 100 billion was allocated for the job creation and retention. So during the special adjustment budget, 19.6 billion of the 100 billion was made available in the 2021 financial year. And for the purposes of this special adjustment budget, an amount was then allocated of 554 million to the Department of Cooperative Governance. So to advance this, we are in the process of, at least the department together with MISA is putting together a project plan for the repairs, rehabilitation and maintenance of municipal infrastructure with a focus or emphasis on roads, water and sanitation. But the idea here is that we want to ensure that we do create the 25,000 jobs. It is a tall order for us, but we will do our best to make sure that we deliver on this. And I think the other important point to note here is that this 554 million will be confirmed in the September-October adjusted estimates budget. If we can then move to the next slide, please. So for the fourth quarter, what was our non-financial performance like? The department of its 23 targets achieved 18 of those and 5 were not achieved. So this then comes to 78% achievement for the quarter and 22% not achieved. The 5 targets that were not achieved were mainly in Program 2 under the Regional Urban Development Legislative Support area, and under Program 6 with the Community Works Program. And then we've provided the rationale or the reasons for non-achievement in the following slides. So if we could move to the next slide, please. So the overall performance analysis, you can see how the department has performed quarter on quarter. In quarter 1 at 58, in quarter 2 at 67, quarter 3 at 68, and then in the last quarter 78. Our overall performance for the year still remains to be audited, but we have a good idea of where that performance outcome is. So what the slide also then just tells us is that once we've undergone the internal audit validation, we will then be in a position to to actually then fully communicate the overall year's result. And the cumulative performance for the year will also be reported in our pre-audited annual report, which has been submitted on the 30th of June. If we can then move to the next slide, please. So the detailed performance per program. So the first performance indicator just relates to the percentage implementation of the post-audit action plan to improve our audit outcomes. And on our OP target, we had to make sure that we had 100% implementation for 2018-19 on the post-audit action plan to improve our audit outcomes by the 31st of March. So in this quarter, management was able to provide the progress reports, and also management was able to provide the quarterly assurance progress reports as per the post-audit action plans. So the outcomes of that performance has also been validated, and we utilize our integrated management tool, which then tracks progress tracks progress on performance, and in this way we also then table progress to our governance structures, particularly the audit committee. And our last presentation on our performance outcome was at the audit committee that was held in January, February and March this year. If we can then move to the next. On program 2, the performance indicator was to support programs that were implemented in selected cities, intermediate cities. The target here was to support a program that would be implemented in the 4 identified intermediate cities. The progress on the implementation of the 4 support plans was approved by the Director General, and the progress reports have thus indicated an achievement. If we can then move to the next slide, please. Under the performance indicator for local government township economic development programs, here our draft integrated township economic development program was developed by the 31st of March. So we achieved in the 3rd quarter. However, in the 4th quarter, we were due to have consulted with the relevant stakeholders on the program, but this was not done or was not undertaken, and therefore we've not achieved on this one. So the planned action here is to make sure that we then start our bid adjudication process timeously, and just so that we are able to then appoint the service provider and then ensure that we do finalize the ITED program by making sure that we also engage all the relevant stakeholders. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, on this performance indicator, we needed to look at the integrated planning and coordinating the model for the 44 district municipalities and 8 metros. Our integrated planning model for these under this target, all of this was approved by the minister by the 31st, and in quarter 4 we were able to actually achieve in that the concept document, which contains all the details about the model, has also been approved, and we intend to. It was also approved by Cabinet in August 2019. If we could move to the next slide, please. Just with regards to the profiles of identified districts and metros being finalized, by the 31st of March, we had not achieved this target. We're supposed to have had all profiles ready for our 44 districts and our 8 metros. So we have since corrected that. So a summary report on all the critical issues that emanate from the district and metros has been compiled, and we are now completed with this, but obviously it was not met in the time that it needed to be met. If we could then move to our next slide. Under performance indicator 8A, under performance indicator 8, we were due to have a municipal specific revenue implemented in selected municipalities to increase our revenue base and the revenue collections and payments of creditors. Under this target, yes, we achieved in Q4 in that we had municipal specific revenue plans implemented in 35 of the municipalities. If you look at then the performance indicator number 9, we were due to ensure that we had 71 municipalities assessed in terms of their compliance with the rating aspects of the MPRA and the outcomes of the assessment findings and recommendations. So we've achieved this in that we have issued letters, and letters have been signed at the time by our acting DDG, and we've communicated the outcomes of the assessments to the 71 municipalities in February. If we can move to the next slide, please. Okay, under performance indicator 10, there were a number of municipalities that needed to have supported the ward committees. So 113 municipalities, including the 3 DDM, District Development Model Pilot Sites, should have supported the functional ward committees. So in Q4, the target was 29 municipalities, and we've achieved that. Under the performance indicator 11, we were due to have trained local government anti-corruption strategy rolled out in 2 districts, and this was achieved. Training on anti-corruption strategy was rolled out to Ugu and to eThekwini. If we can then move to the next slide, please. Okay, the performance indicator 12 relates to the municipal systems bill that needed to be introduced to Parliament. So we've achieved that in that Parliament has supported the bill, and we've had all the stakeholder engagements that were required to have been held, specifically through local government, that's through SALGA and organised labour. We can then move to the next slide, please. Performance indicator number 13. On this, we were due to have looked at 2 integrated advocacy and awareness programs needed to have been successfully implemented in partnership with municipalities to actually promote and advance the disaster risk reduction. Okay, we've achieved this in that we have had 2 integrated advocacy and awareness programs being run, specifically in Capricorn District, and we've also had a second awareness program at Waterberg, and also Modimole, Mokopong, where a session was held with the ward committees then. If we could then move on to the next slide, please. Okay, on performance indicator 14, we've had a number of district management guidelines, 2 priority guidelines needed to be approved, and this was then achieved. In relation to the disaster management priority guidelines, and 2 of these have been prioritized. With regards to indicator number 15, we needed to ensure that capacity assessment on the capacity to implement the National Fire Safety and Prevention Strategy was actually conducted, and that capacity assessment was done specifically in Kandla and Umhlabuya Lingana. If we can then move to the next slide, performance indicator 16, we needed to ensure that 183 municipalities supported our mixed spending for infrastructure development, and this was indeed achieved. If we could move on to the next slide, please. On indicator 17, we needed to ensure that we had created 247,000 work opportunities through our CWP participants. and this indeed was achieved in the fourth quarter. And then we also needed to make sure that 8,250 CWP participants were trained, and we actually overachieved on that. We've trained 16,621 participants. If we could then move on to the next slide, please. Okay, on indicator number 19, we needed to have a number of partnerships established. And the partnership that we did establish by end of March was with the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development in KZN to actually support our Agrarian Revolution project. The indicator that was not achieved was the remodeling or revising our operating model for CWP. We were due to have conducted a feasibility study for the establishment of the CWP. And this part we did with the presentation. However, the actual formal revised model was not done, and we've carried that over now into this financial year. If we could then move to the next slide. We therefore recommend that the Standing Committee on Appropriation actually notes the department's presentation as per the committee's request. And I thought I'd like to just thank the chairperson and the committee members for listening to my presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. DA, anything to add?
Thank you, Chairperson. Not much, but just to say that we're living in a very difficult environment, as the presentation indicated. But the number of municipalities are going to be running short of money on the basis that the revenue is estimated, particularly revenue collections, it's going to be less because the more the people get unemployed and the more the municipality will suffer in terms of payment of services. So then people will then have also to substitute whatever is their immediate need and then not pay municipalities. And as I think you've seen some few articles last month, Johannesburg, Gauteng municipalities are already short of 5 billion rands. And in the Northwest, Rustenburg is already has a deficit of 1.2 billion rand, simply because the revenue is no longer coming forth because of the COVID that is having an impact on jobs, but also on the increased unemployment. So this is what the department could really do in terms of trying to then begin to look at what is it that we can do to still continue ensuring that service delivery is happening, and particularly the water aspects of it, working with the Department of Water, but obviously with municipalities going to go through its own challenges post-COVID now and also post-COVID, we will be having a very difficult environment financially and so forth. Chair, also as you'll be opening up for questions and comments from your honorable members, I am part of the people who are summoned to be in Parliament for the 3-line whip. So I will, at 10 to or 10 o'clock, I will then have to be excused to go and join Parliament. But otherwise, the team will be remaining and they'll be able to deal with all questions and the answers that they will then be providing. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Cheers.
Thank you, Honorable DM. Thank you, DG. But before you leave, DM, there's just one question which I would like you to deal with. Is the question of the financial position and the state of audit when it comes to municipalities. What is the real intervention of the department? Because this is a perennial problem. Year in, year out, that's what we deal with. It even becomes difficult for us to try and lobby for the funds for local government, because what you get is that local government can't account for it, for the money that the people of South Africa go to. So I see there are a lot of interventions. What exactly is happening on that one? Can we hear you, please?
Excuse me, Chairperson.
Yes.
Excuse me. I had a rider question on that. Can I also put it on?
Okay, make it quick, Honorable Lenzana.
Thanks, Chairperson. On top of what Chairperson you have already asked, my question also was this one. If DM can also brief us about those municipalities which literally refused to be audited, to the extent that there has to be SAPS pulled in. What happened to that? What also happened to the question of now, the challenge that we are saying the Auditor General should have a specific function of auditing the COVID-19 activities. Is there money set aside by the department to assist in that regard? Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Any other person with a question that he or she will die if the deputy minister leaves without tending to it? Okay, DM, please help us.
Thank you. No one will die after I leave. I'm glad to hear that. No. Let me start with the last question and then deal with your other one. And obviously the details and the information will then be provided by the team that is accompanied and led by the DG Avery Williams. Firstly is that the local government is a mandate that it's between national and the provinces. And we have the Inter-Government Relations Act that is now providing us to ensure that we work seamlessly with the provincial COGTAs to ensure that municipalities adhere to the norms and then the legislation that is provided for. And then when we introduced the back to basics, I think you remember that particular program. One of the elements in the 5 key issues was the financial sustainability of the municipalities, but then the loopholes that are there was the question of who are the people that are employed in those supply chain management, in the finance areas of the municipalities. And we found a lot, unfortunately, of where the fault lines are. One, you'll then get people who are not competent being employed in those particular divisions. And a person who is not even no financial skills at all. Yes, they are educated. There might be former teachers, some of them, but history and not related to finance. And then you find, therefore, that the fourth line, therefore, is the people that are employed really to look after the purse and the public purse of the municipalities. That's one fourth line that we had discovered. And we then said in the back to basics, all municipalities must do the skills audit and ensure, therefore, that they rectify the fault lines that are there and ensure, therefore, that competent people are employed for the right positions within the municipality space so that we could then close the gap of incompetent people being employed in those areas. It takes time. Some are responding, obviously not all. And you find, therefore, that there's that particular situation. Secondly, I think the minister did say to one of the portfolio committees, if not of COGTA, and I repeat, that you then realize also the politics coming into the administrative space. And then she always gives an example of omelette. And if you cook an omelette, it's a mixture of administration and politics just in one pot, and we can't separate the yellow and then the white. And therefore, in our attempt to then resolve and ensure that municipalities get out of the audit queries and the number of the audit queries that are there, we just have to make sure, therefore, that we no longer do a scrambled egg and we no longer do an omelette. We do just a fried egg where the yellow, which is the administration, must then be independent, professional, and focus on its core mandate, and then the politics being the white area, which is on the outside, making sure that they then deal with the politics, but then they don't interfere a lot in terms of the laws that are in place. And therefore, the entire exchange of the politics and the administration, that is why you find that even the MM becomes casualties in the political infightings that you will find across the political parties that are representing the people in those municipalities. And therefore, those are the issues that then there is beyond government. We just have to appeal to all political parties that once you win the mandate of the people to serve in any institution of state, all of us must therefore work to serve the interests of the people, and therefore make sure therefore that that area of competence and the professionalization of the work in the municipality space is there. We are also amending through Parliament currently the Municipal Infrastructure, the Municipal Systems Act, which is also beginning now to look at the professionalization of the work ethic and the work environment in the municipality space as in part one of those particular attempts. And then when Auditor General then goes into that environment, because these people, they know that they've not been doing their work well, the invoices are not anywhere to be found, they then either close the Auditor General not to come in, and then, or they just fall sick and then they disappear, and then the Auditor General will go into that environment and find no one who is there to account. And that has been the habit, and I think it was quite dominant in KZN and but a few other municipalities. We are engaging with the mayors, we are engaging with in the mayors forum that we really ought to give leadership now, be involved, not in the interference, but in ensuring that you as a leader and the champion and the face of that particular municipality must make sure therefore that all the wrongs that are happening in that municipalities, we need to fix them together with the COCTAs in the provinces and ourselves. But I think I'll let the team then give quite a number of good examples that they were able to intervene at, and then where obviously we still have challenges, we are engaging on those particular challenges. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you so much, DM. We'll definitely be following up on these things because I don't know whether the municipalities realize this, that it's so difficult for anybody, an investor, whoever, to go to a municipality where there's no accountability. It's difficult for government to to take money to a municipality where you know that there's going to be no financial accountability for whatever reason. I think we need to stress that, because they come to the committee, for instance, we had Salga, and there's one problem that they always complain about, that there's the local government equity share is not sufficient. But the big question when you go to the Minister of Finance, they'll say, but they can't even account for what we've given them. So it's more like shooting themselves on the foot by not being able to properly account for these finances. And it's something that at DM we think really should be attended to as a matter of urgency, so that at least we can account to the people of South Africa to say the money that was appropriated and allocated to municipalities has been properly used and has been used for what it was supposed to. But thank you very much. I can assure you, DM, that we are going to still to invite you and the minister and your whole bench to come back and interact with ourselves. As you always say, local government is at the face of service delivery. But thank you very much. We'll continue with the Director General and her team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks to the honourable members. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, can I get indications as to who would like to interact with the presentation by the Director General? No, you shout. Please shout at me.
Chair, it's Honourable Sarupen.
Sarupen.
Matafa.
Kaiso.
Mlenzana after Kaiso.
Kaiso. Lenzana. I see you, Peters.
Yes.
Yes. Who else?
Dennis Joseph. Morning, Chair.
Okay. Joseph. Kehale. Any other person? No, that's it. Here is the list, honorable members. You do have 4 minutes Honorable Sarupen, Honorable Matafa, Honorable Kaiso, Honorable Lenzana, Honorable Josephs, Honorable Tikhale, Honorable Peters. Okay, we have got 4 minutes. I'm having my stopwatch on. And Honorable Sarupen, please start.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I will hone in on just one aspect of this, and that is around municipal debt to ESCOM and how the department sees that being managed, how it's been managed of late, especially over the last while, and more significantly, how in the COVID era, municipalities are going to be able to keep up their ESCOM payments with reduced revenue, and what steps are being taken to ensure that revenue collection is supported and that municipalities rebudget to ensure that they can pay ESCOM, because that ESCOM debt is not sorted. It's a threat to the entire country. Thank you, Chair.
Ken, Tafa.
Thank you very much, Chair. Now, let me start first by welcoming the presentation. I think it's very informative, and also to pass our appreciation for the attendance from the DM and the DG and Team Copter. Chair, mine is just to say that why I'm saying the presentation is very informative is that it responded to my questions around distribution losses, capacity building, and service delivery protests. However, there are cuts that are being made on the issue of infrastructure maintenance. It's one of the issues that I was interested in. So my interest would know, how will the reduction in the MIG grant affect the development of new infrastructure, particularly addressing those particular infrastructure that has been dilapidated? The second one, Chair, is on the issue of the poor post-audit action plan implementation. The audit outcomes of late indicate that indeed it is poor implementation, but also it affects negatively to service delivery interventions. Now, the presentation speaks about escalation to CFO's forum, as well as at the provincial government level. Now, my question there is that after this escalation has been done, what then? Does the process end here, or will COCTA and National Treasury still be able to play a role? Because my view is that if there is further interaction after it has been escalated, early warning signs can be picked up to identify municipality X that even with this intervention and action plans, they might still default, and action and efforts can be made before the final outcomes of audit are actually released. So my question is, what happens after those particular escalations has been done? But for now, Chair, I'm quite pleased with the presentation. That is where I wanted to rise on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Matafa. Honorable Kaiso.
Thank you very much, Chair. And let me also thank for the presentation made by COCTA. And also commend the work that COCTA has done during this difficult time of the pandemic 19. And where leadership has been provided. We want to commend COCTA for doing that. The COCTA should take note of that as a committee. That's what we commend. Secondly, want to appreciate also this initiative and the progress that has been made before us, especially with regard to support of the municipalities and also to deal with the deteriorating audit outcome and with the establishment of the MFMA Coordinators Forum to assist and provide support to municipalities, as well as lastly the issue on MISA to deal with the issue of the aging infrastructure in the country. I mean, post-1994, some we have inherited for over 50 years. But where I want to come to here, I just want to give an example of some of the things that one picks up in the province here in Free State. I just want to know what is going to happen with the You know, there is an area there or district in Malutia Pofunkwakwa where there has been a problem of water, and that the department came in to intervene with the supply of water trucks. But now one has learned that there is a threat to withdraw such water trucks during this difficult time by Water and Sanitation Department. I don't know what is going to happen about that, because at the time when this crisis of water escalated already, we think that the Department of Cooperative had deployed a national department deployed water and sanitation, assisted with the deployment of water trucks before the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. But immediately after the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak, there was also additional deployment of water tanks, water trucks, which I want to believe may have not been a cost that was provided by COCTA. I don't know. I just want to know how COCTA is it going to deal with this problem if it's not a problem. Now, the second issue that I want to go is the issue of the district development model. But looking at the presentation, there is a talk of, you know, a study or an approach which wants to structure community works program. But my looking at this, I want to know, where does provinces feature in this? Because one would believe that then the district development model will feature very well in this, in as far as this it is concerned. But now the setup is such that the provinces are pushed aside from these developments. Why I'm saying this, because I'm noting that even here in the province, when it comes to implementation, there is this thing that you'll find people coming from outside other provinces coming to effect implementation in the provinces. Instead, you would have expected that now in the presence of, when we have a district development model, all these things shall have been embraced, happening at the local level, where the power is at the local level, where the local municipalities are nearer, rather than now placing them far at other provinces. Now, it's a problem if other people come from other provinces and come and make procurement in another provinces. So it deals very decisively with the local economic development. So how are you going to address this problem where now the local business are disempowered and the issue of procurement of materials come from outside the other province? I just want to get clarity there, because I thought that all these things will then embrace the idea of district development model. So now, because now this results in a situation where the province do not necessarily have power in taking critical decisions. Now, I just want to know what is the difference when you implemented, or when expanded public works program were implemented, the province seemed to have been part of this and decentralized. But when it comes to community works program, that is centralized. I just want to know why arrangement like that. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Let me
finish your point. Finish your point.
Yes, that was actually the point that I wanted to make, because this would enhance a better coordination and accountability to the local government. So thank you very much, Chair, with those few.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kaiso. Honorable Mlenzana.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, let me also join colleagues in welcoming the presentation and particularly appreciating, Chairperson, that aspect of the performance analysis. I was impressed, Chairperson. But then if DG could talk more on the impact assessment. If they do have such a tool, where perhaps it's not only on paper that we would say this has been done to this percentage and all that. Is there a way of going down to actually dig deeper into seeing what is it that has actually happened? Then, Chair, let me also talk more on the question that I asked from the DM, but now put the other way around for the DG. If the DG could talk more on the reduction of the Municipal Systems Improvement Grant. This grant, basically, I believe, Chair, is meant for assisting these underperforming or struggling municipalities. Now, if then it is reduced, what do we then do in terms of these municipalities which are underperforming in terms of the Auditor General's report? Then the last one, Chair, would be talking district development model, also put the other way around. My interest then would be, why carry on with this issue of picking one or two districts in the form of saying piloting? Why not taking the advantage of COVID-19 to just roll out the district management model as a way of economic recovery and actually implementing, particularly to those areas where there would be local economic crisis as a result of COVID-19? Thanks, Chairperson. You would take my extra minutes. I'm sure I have.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Joseph.
Good morning, all. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the DG for the presentation. I just would like to say that in the opening statement there was mention made of the department's ability to deliver on its mandate. I would like to know how that mandate is assessed against the AG reports, because the essence of the AG report speaks to financial accountability and taking municipalities forward to have better outcomes. My question on a gender-based violence, I would like to know if that is a new initiative or a new strategy in the APP, or a new program as was mentioned, or is it a continuation of a program, and what is the difference then if there is a new approach or new initiative to the gender-based violence? Because I'm not too familiar how it plays out in local municipalities, the programs. Chairperson, the water leaks, which is at another department, I would like to know what happened to that program in the municipalities. And I will refer to the maintenance program later. I'm just coupling that. Is it still going on? Even if it's water and sanitation, what is the municipality's progress at that stage? It's a program that started 2 years or 3 years ago. Because some of this program starts and then we hear nothing afterwards, and we don't know if it still exists and what is the progress. And then even on the food parcels, some municipalities gave amounts which is maybe 400-500, some up to 1,500. We saw some food in people pushing it away in wheelbarrows, while others have small parcels. So my request or question is, if there's better guidance, we can serve more people with the money that we have for food parcels if we spread it more equally. I know in the rural areas it costs more, but maybe just as an opinion. In the city of Cape Town, they advertise automated readings. While we are talking now about putting in prepaid meters to get money in advance. Now, automated readings I've seen overseas. You just walk down the street and the the terminal automatically takes the meters. You don't even go into the houses. So my question is, what is the cost? What would the cost be? I'm not sure if the National is aware of the automated tender that is out that I've seen in the paper. What is the cost between automated meter readings and the cost of installing prepaid meters? We need, I'm not sure if the National is aware of that. And then also there's a slide on the support of credit management, supporting the municipality for credit management. I must say the outcomes there is still very poor, and I would like to know what is prior to COVID-19 it was poor. So I just wanted to make that point, and I hope it will improve after COVID-19. And then the lack of infrastructure, Chairperson. In the Western Cape, where I was chairman of the Committee of Budget and Finance, there was a 10% guidance that municipalities must spend 10% of their money on maintenance, which monthly reports had to come to the province from municipalities. And I'm not sure it's still the case, but the lack of maintenance is very important. And then the municipalities who don't pay their people, what is the situation? What is nationally happening? Guidance there to make sure that workers get their pay on time if there is money. The 20 billion, I noted that the president's announcement was 20 billion, and then I see 11 billion is equitable share, and then 9 billion reprioritized. That brings me to the 20 billion, if I understand it correctly, but there was always this question, was it initially 20 billion? And then my last point, Chairperson, slide 23, the 78% performance is not good for me. Overall, it is not good. It is a lot of money unspent. It is a lot of programs not achieved. I see there's here and there overachievement, but I must say the 78% performance is not good. And I think in essence, we would like to have the reason. What is the main reason for us? Because underperformance means service doesn't get to the people. The basic services of water, sanitation and water, refuse collection and ESCOM storage, that for me is the basis of the mandate of the municipality amongst many other services. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Joseph. Honorable Dukhale.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to everybody. Join my colleagues in welcoming the presentation. Thank you very much. I want to talk to the slide whereby the department is talking about COVID-19 allocation to the health provincial disaster relief grant. See that on the first allocation.
Robert Dukhale.
Hi, Chair.
Switch off your video and so that you can see whether you can get a better sound. Just switch off your video. Let's see what happens.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is it fine now?
Let's try. Let's try. We still get.
Okay. I wanted to talk to this slide whereby the department is talking about the COVID-19 allocation to the health sector provincial disaster relief grant. I see we have a very important purpose of allocating these monies to different provinces. But then now, when it comes to expenditure, it's not the same. You check on for example, the Western Cape, whereby they were allocated a lot of money compared to all other provinces, but did not they did not spend what they were allocated for. But when you check on other provinces, for example, like Limpopo, what they allocated for, they managed to spend. So I want to check if ever maybe the department has a remedy when it comes to this. Because if for example, the Western Cape are having this serious COVID-19 in their province, people are affected, many of them, and the money is not being used. Is it possible that they can take this money and give it to the provinces that manage to spend the monies as allocated? And these ones that are the implementation is underway, maybe they should be assisted or be punished one way or the other, so that tomorrow the money allocated to them should then work in the department. And when it comes to the drought allocation to agriculture sector, I see Popo is thinking of having windmills. I think this is a good idea because the windmills is not even going to need electricity. We've been using it long time ago when I was still very young, and we never had a problem of water. But then the problem was that we were fetching the water very far. So if the windmill issue is going to be implemented, can I request that they make sure that these windmills at least goes nearer to the people? Chairperson, many of my minutes, I'm going to allocate them to my lady comrade, Honorable Dipuo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Tekale. Honorable Peters, you've got a generous donor.
That is called sisterhood. Thank you very much, Honorable Dekale, for donating your time. But I also want to take this opportunity to thank the Deputy Minister, who has now left for Parliament, and the DG and team for the informative presentation, like Honorable Matafa said. And I'm happy also, I think Honorable Mlenzana has, Honorable Josephs has raised it. Thank you very much, DZ, for clarifying the 11 billion vis-a-vis the 20 billion rand issue, because Salga was at pains to explain to us that they've been shortchanged with 9 billion, which has been money that has been reprioritized. That being the case, I would want to find out from the DG. There is an indication that you speak about unspent conditional grants that were not approved for rollover, and municipalities failed to surrender the funds to national treasure, the National Revenue Fund. I would want to know which municipalities are these, which failed to surrender these conditional grants, but also what is COGTA and National Treasury going to do with regard to making sure that there is consequences to the MMCs responsible for finance in those municipalities, the CFOs, as well as the municipal managers, because it is important that somebody be held responsible for this particular matter. The other thing, Chairperson, is there is an indication on the supplementary amounts for 2020-2021 that there's an amount of 138.5 million from the provincial disaster relief grant for provinces to purchase fodder as well as development and rehabilitation of water infrastructure. How many provinces have been covered by this 138.5 million? I know that it does look probably like a lot, but for water rehabilitation and development and rehabilitation infrastructure, I think this is rather too little an amount. The other thing that I wanted to find out is what is the actual support that COGTA is giving municipalities over and above the work that you say MISA is doing. I still would want to know, because MISA has been in existence for a very long time, and municipalities have been failing to pay ESCOM for the electricity generated. And Honorable Josephs, I would support the pay as you go as opposed to that remote meter reading, because it will still result in the inability to pay. So the automated meter reading vis-a-vis the pay as you go, I would go for pay as you go, because people will then be buying electricity to the volumes that they will then be consuming. So I also would want to know from the, okay, Honorable Mlenzana has covered that one of the reduction in the municipal systems improvement grant and how it will impact in supporting the municipalities. I want to know, at DG, are you seeing any benefit from the numerous training programs that SALGA, as well as yourselves and other agencies, including National Treasury, has been giving municipalities? Because year in, year out, we hear about the serious challenges with regard to audit outcomes. Are the municipal officials being trained in programs or skills that are relevant for the municipality? Or is there scholarships for people to study that which they want to study, irrespective of whether it has a contribution to the municipality? Chairperson, the other one is related to the comprehensive redesign of the community works program. I think that is a commendable indication, but is the department reviewing the allowances as well? Because I would believe that it would have to deal with the allowances, but also the role of the service provider that is supervising the CWPs, as well as whether the design is going to allow for CWPs being supervised by the municipalities, but also we need to applaud some of the CWPs who have invested their time in doing vegetable gardens, and some of them have really gone out to clean the cemeteries. And I think that is an indication of CWPs who go the extra mile, despite the call that they have got a particular hours per week to work, but they have been able to lay vegetable gardens, and these vegetables have been dominated to soup kitchens and other areas where there is a need. But also, DG, between COCTA and DSD, who is responsible for the homeless? Because there is some thin line, they fall through the cracks, because you always find the homeless in the streets. The other thing is COCTA's role in ensuring that municipalities and provinces, as well as not municipalities, provinces as well as national departments and the entities and state-owned companies, them paying municipalities so that municipalities can then be able to pay ESCOM and the water boards. The other thing is that this very automated meters or prepaid, is that system not implementable for government departments? Because government departments are not paying municipalities. Entities of the state are not paying municipalities. Equally so, the private sector, in terms of last year's figures, there was an indication of plus minus about 24 billion rand or 30 billion rand that the private sector is owing municipalities that is related to services. So it is important that SALGA, as well as COCTA, supports municipalities to be able to get this money, especially in this year when we have been given an indication that there's going to be a huge under-recovery because of the impact of COVID. Chairperson, lastly, the situation in our municipalities leaves much to be desired. The potholes, water and sanitation infrastructure is in deplorable conditions. Sewage is seeping through the streets. Water supply is interrupted. There's also an indication of a loss of water through the lack of maintenance of infrastructure. And I want to know, is the support of MISA truly beneficial to the municipalities? What is it that municipalities need to know? I know that during the time of Sienzamanji, some of the municipalities actually dismissed the engineers that were appointed by the DPSA. Is MISA also having that same challenges that Sienzamanji used to have? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Peters. Can I just double check, Honorable Sarupen, anything that you'd like to add?
No, Chair, I'm happy. Thank you.
Honorable Matafa?
Nothing from my side, Chair. I'm covered. Thank you very much.
Honorable Kaiso?
No, I'm covered, Chair.
Honorable Mlenzana? Honorable Mlenzana?
Yeah, I was trying to unmute, Chair.
Please.
Chairperson, the district, sorry, the deputy minister covered me in his presentation with regards to some municipalities that are already reporting the loss of revenue. Now, if perhaps the DG could just throw on the thinking of the department in terms of mitigation.
Thank you. Honorable Joseph, anything to throw in?
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks. I just want to say to the members, those municipalities in other provinces where it's going better and going well, it's good, but they came to learn from the Western Cape. Thank you very much.
Honorable Peters.
Order. It's out of order. It's out of order.
Honorable Chairperson, in fact, I forgot a very important point. What is SALGA going to do with the Western Cape and in particular the city of Cape Town that has surrendered the PTNG or the bus rapid transport funds back to National Treasury as opposed to ensuring that our communities have access to affordable transport? The rollout of my city and Bogo George in the areas of the Western Cape will get delayed because of the Western Cape returning this money. What is COCTA going to do with regard to municipalities that want to project clean books at the expense of service delivery?
It's a debate for the NCOP.
Okay, honorable members, thank you very much. Let me also join the oral members in thanking the presentation and thanking the Deputy Minister and the DG for availing themselves. A few questions from my side. I just want to check from COCTA. If you were to prioritize 5 things that COCTA were to do successfully, that would change the face of local government, what will those things be? Just 5, so that we don't bite more than we can chew. That's one. What do you see the role of? That's number 2. The role of local government in reigniting the economy. We have all been arguing that the solution to the problems that we are facing is economic growth. But unfortunately, this is usually seen as a national government type of a thing, or even more specifically as a national treasury or as a DTI thing. I hold a different view, and I know the oral members here, that everybody should be involved. But I don't think I've seen real plans coming from the local government level where people are saying this is going to be our role in trying to reignite the economy. For instance, there are things like the time that it takes to rezone areas, the question of releasing land, whether it's for agricultural purposes, for business, and the speed that is done with, right? Because those are the things. At the end of the day, business must locate in a local government. A national government and provincial government can do everything and everything that you can think about. But at the end of the day, the business must be located in a local government. And these things are very critical for local government. The question of, as I said, your licensing, your and so on. What do you see local government doing as far as that is concerned? I just want to check if you were to assess the district developmental model now, what would you say in a scale of 1 to 10? what would you give it as far as success or not success, so to speak, right? Because I thought that's very important, that we should get it well oiled, because it will even take away this debate as to what goes to national, to province, and to local government. Because at the end of the day, whether it's government, whether it's national or provincial or local, those services must be delivered to people who are in the local government level. So I thought that the DDM approach was going to try and help with those challenges. So I'm just saying, what do you think? How far are we with that? And in a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this approach? Perhaps related to my first question. Do you see the role of local government and COGTA involved, for instance? Or what is that role? For instance, we talk about localization, that businesses, we should stop importing a lot of these things. How do we lobby businesses to come and locate in the smaller towns? So we avoid this urban migration, which comes with a lot of other problems, to big cities like your Johannesburg, your Durban, your Cape Town, because people are always going there in anticipation of getting jobs, which in most cases are not there. But what is the role of trying to get businesses, both private and government businesses, to come and locate in these small towns? Some of the towns are called ghost towns now. DG, please still talk to the DM spoken to this thing. We are really worried about the state of finances in local government. And for us, there'll be impact assessment that other members have spoken about, but also the question of improving audit outcomes. There are all these interventions that we hear that you are involved with, but we don't see them in the outcomes, especially when it comes to the audit outcomes. That's what we rely on to try and assess the functioning of local government. But in the state in which it is, it leaves a lot to be desired. But what exactly? I see all these things, but it looks like it's not yielding the desired results. This has been a perennial problem. This has been an evergreen problem. Year in, year out, we are dealing with one and the same problem, which means that even the interventions which are there, they're not working. What's new that the department is doing to try and assist this process? Well, it also talked to, there are a lot of, you kept on saying MISA is doing this, especially when it comes to infrastructure. Again, they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Let me tell you that I don't see the improvement with MISA involved, right? So, which, if you were to say the success rate of MISA interventions, it's not working, because you still go, you go to our places, especially the townships, you find that what Honorable Peters was talking about, where there's sewer all over, where there are leakages of water all over. So again, what do we do? Practical things that we need to do to make those, because I hear this misinterventions, but we don't see the results. We don't see the results. I just want to order simple thing like the cleanliness of a town. Cleanliness of a town. It's so important for attracting investors to come to the town, because it just inspires confidence from the distance that people who are here, I can come and locate my city. But you come to a town, you see the town, which is there's filth everywhere you go, and you say, can an investor, for instance, coming from China or coming from the US or coming from Johannesburg or Cape Town or Nelson Mandela, can they really come here and say, I want to locate my business here? So those things, the form also counts before you even come to the content as to how the city looks like or how the town looks like. Because you may think that this thing of a clean seat is more of a form thing, but it also impacts on the health budget, both at a local, at a provincial, at a national level, because once there's field, there's going to be a lot of diseases. So I'm just saying we need to look at all those things. DG, please note this one. In our interaction with SALGA, we promised that we would like a meeting, not this meeting where everybody is there, even if you call it a workshop, where you have got the Minister of Finance, you've got the Minister of COCTA, you have got SALGA, discussing issues that are relevant to them. Because we get a situation where SALGA comes to us and they complain about all these things which National Treasury is not doing or what COCTA is not doing and so on and so forth. And we get an impression that there's not enough dialogue so that you can be understanding each other as to how you deal with these mutual challenges. So would like to know, want to be told even before MTBBS that this meeting has taken place and the progress of that meeting. I think I will then allow DG and your team to respond to some of our comments and some of the questions that we have raised. Director General.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chairperson, and to members of the committee for all the questions. The approach that we'd like to follow is I will call on some of the team members that are with me to respond, and thereafter, Chairperson, I will then do a wrap-up or round-up, specifically on questions that might not have also been responded to. So I would like to firstly call upon Bulelo Sigaba. Bulelo will be handling all questions for us, Chairperson, that relates to municipal debt, to payments with ESCOM, to some of the interventions that we've also put into place in relation to, for example, the establishment of an ombudsperson, and just our whole communication strategy and approach, you know, in dealing with or supporting municipalities when it comes to municipal debt. So let's start firstly with Mbulelo. Thank you, Mbulelo.
Thank you, DG, and thank you to the Honorable Chair and the Honorable members. I will respond mostly to Fondant's debt to ESCOM. As the Honorable members will know, there is a task team that was set up by the Deputy President.
Chairperson, where is DG and her team? We can't see them. Where are they?
Yeah, they're here. Let the team, whoever is talking, there is Mbulelo. Okay.
Honorable Chair, one of you don't normally show.
Yeah, I see you can't hear.
Okay.
No.
DG.
Sorry, Honorable Chair, we tend to switch our cameras off because of the network instability. So if I could ask maybe that as we then present, we will show our face in the first couple of seconds and then drop the video and then continue to speak, if that would be okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Chair. So Mbulelo.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As I was saying, when it comes to the debt to ESCOM, there is a task team that has been established by the Deputy President that is looking into this matter. We meet on the average on a weekly basis and report back to the political task team that is chaired by the Deputy President. So far we have been able to set up a multidisciplinary team between us, COCTA, National Department of Public Works, SALGA, ESCOM, and also National Treasury. This is the multidisciplinary team that is actually responsible then to monitor this escalating debt to ESCOM. Issues that are also being discussed there is the interest that is being charged by ESCOM on the long overdue account. There's also the nominated demand that is actually being charged by Eskom to municipalities that are exceeding their nominated demand. These are all the discussions that we have in this forum, and we believe that there will be progress. We are also able to set up, we are in the process of finalizing the appointment of an ombudsman who will actually help in resolving the disputes between departments and municipalities, and also municipalities with Eskom on the debt, because in some cases, because of these huge technical losses that happen between the Eskom and the municipalities. So these are issues that we discuss at this forum. So we believe that as we meet frequently, we will be able to make municipalities to be able to pay for their services. We're also looking at trying to ring fence some of the funds so that they are dedicated for the bulk purchases that are done not only to Eskom but also to the water boards. There was also a question about how do we then react to the loss of revenue to municipalities. Yes, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, yes, municipalities are losing a lot of revenue in the last 3 months because of loss of jobs. This additional 12 billion in particular was 20 billion, I beg your pardon, was specifically meant to respond to COVID. This 11 billion that is actually going to be transferred using the equitable share is specifically meant to supplement the number of households now that are going to increase in terms of not being able to pay. You'll remember in our original local government equitable share budget for free basic services was for 10.5 million households. But now, because of COVID, this is going to increase. We are estimating now it will increase up to even about 14 million households. So this additional 11 billion is meant to supplement those loss of revenue that municipalities are going to experience because people can no longer afford to pay. And in addition, also to make sure that the services municipal services are continuing. The additional 9 billion then is more. If I could, Honorable Oscar, he was saying there was a reduction on the municipal infrastructure grant. The MIG has not been reduced. All we have done is to repurpose the grant. Remember, in terms of the grant framework, this is more for putting up infrastructure, particularly in the poor sort of municipalities. Now, what we have done is that we have repurposed some of the grant to respond to COVID. In other words, focusing more on water-related infrastructure so that people can be able to have access to water. So we have not reduced the budget allocation for MIG. We have just repurposed it so that it can respond to COVID-related demands. When it comes to poor audit outcomes and implementation, Chair, we know that this is really a challenge, and I agree with the members that it really needs immediate attention. I think if we can just acknowledge the fact that although as a department we are responsible for playing a role in municipalities, we do have oversight committees within municipalities, and their functioning actually is a reflection of some of these audit outcomes. You will agree with you, members, if oversight is not strong over the administration of municipalities, then this is a reflection, because we have also seen that most of the municipalities that actually have these negative audit outcomes also do not have functioning oversight committees, even including audit committees. So I think we are trying to now to strengthen some of these MPECs, because in some cases, when it comes, for instance, to dealing with these irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditures, sometimes they don't have capacity for researchers to be able to help them in making the right decision and actually making consequence management, because one of the other challenges that there's no consequence management when it comes to people that are actually transgressing. And safe to say, I think there's also political interference in some municipalities where municipal managers are under pressure to deal with this from political pressure. But as a department, we are working closely with other stakeholders like National Treasury to try and look at strengthening the functioning of this sort of oversight committee, more especially our municipal public accounts committees and our audit committees. We also looking at whether this DDM model will also help in strengthening some of the audit committees, rather than maybe having audit committees for all the locals. We may have an audit committee that is a district delivery model that will be able to play oversight in all the local municipalities. Those are some of the. When it comes to the reduction of the municipal systems improvement grant, honourable members, you will appreciate that the Minister of Finance had requested departments to reprioritize their budgets. And for those, more especially those grants that have sort of a history of underspending, then there had to be some reduction. But now, because of COVID, we are not doing most of the traveling in terms of, for instance, having this division of revenue workshops, traveling to all the provinces. So we had to reduce those expenditures that are related to traveling and catering, so that it accommodates the responses to COVID. So that was one of the reasons why we reduced our MSIG. I think I've addressed loss of revenue. Obviously, going forward, I think there are also other possibilities then that we will be looking at going forward, Chair. We are looking at, for instance, now reforms that are going to enhance some of the local government fiscal framework, as the revenue now from our taxes is shrinking. So we're looking at other financing models now for municipalities. We're looking for things like revenue bonds. These are some of the discussions that we will be having with National Treasury and SALGA. How do we do project financing? There's also what we call tax increment financing and land value capturing mechanism. These are some of the sort of financing options then that we are looking at. There's also what we call pool financing, where in some cases municipalities are sharing a sort of a border where they want to do a development. If you take the example, for instance, of in Lansesia Airport, there's a huge development there. Land also follows, under city of Joburg and also city of Pretoria, so city of Tshwane. So what they are doing now is they are pulling up finance to finance some of these projects, so that we sort of we reduce the risk for investors. And also the conditional grant pledging. Remember, we're only pledging conditional grants for up to 3 years because of the MTF period. But we're looking now at saying maybe we could pledge this grant funding between 10 to 20 years, so that municipalities can be able to finance their projects. The chair also talked about us having to meet with SALGA and National Treasury to look into this. Sometime last year during the budget forum, there was a proposal that we need to have a sort of what we call a budget likhutla that will inform some of the challenges that we are facing as local government. those proposals should be submitted into the budget forum. But due to COVID, we could not have this Lekgotla. But what we are having now is we're having workshops. We have got various streams that are actually preparing to meet then with the deputy ministers and the ministers, both finance and culture, where we will make these proposals. So there is already an initiative, Chair, to address your concern in terms of us, the ministers, meeting together to the funding sort of challenges that are faced by local government. I will take this one. Just I know the DG has not given me permission, but the chair said let's think about 5 things. Obviously, the DG has got his five things, but I will just mention the 5 things that we think maybe we can do to local government, maybe to change. One of them, if we can just strengthen oversight. You know, if our oversight is not strengthened, there would really not be any change in the local government. Secondly, if we implement consequence management, we need to strengthen our performance management when it comes to local government, and also reduce political interference. If we can also match the skills, you know, sometimes in terms of the deployment, we find that people are deployed, but they don't have the necessary skills to manage some of the sort of challenges that we have within the. And then another thing, when it comes to revenue, Chair, I think if we can introduce what we call a basic charge, more especially for water. If you go to the rural areas, Chair, you will find that I mean, teachers, nurses, and police, they are not paying for water, but they can afford. So I think if you can introduce just a basic charge, we will be able to enhance the revenues of municipalities. But let me stop there, Chair. I think if there's something that I've missed, then the honorable members will help me. Thank you, Chair.
DG, I don't know whether the DG is there. If she's not, team, please pick up your questions and continue.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Ntandas of Vimba, the CEO of MISA. I will take the question relating to infrastructure, Chairperson. The first question, Chairperson, was the impact of MIG reductions in maintenance of municipal infrastructure. As Mbule has already indicated, there wasn't really a reduction in terms of MIG. Instead, there was a reprioritization of MIG to focus on COVID-19 responses, in the main dealing with infrastructure repairs and maintenance, which is an area that the committee members really raised sharply about the status of our municipal infrastructure. The reason why we have reprioritized to focus on the repairs and maintenance is precisely because of the recognition of the challenge we are facing as a country in terms of the existing infrastructure. The challenge is not because there is a failure on the part of support by national government, but because there's been serious underinvestment as it relates to existing infrastructure. We'll appreciate that in terms of the interdepartmental transfers, the fiscal transfers to municipalities, the focus is mainly on the new infrastructure. There is no funding currently. That focus is on existing infrastructure, except through equitable share. And if you look into how municipalities are budgeting for maintenance, Chairperson, is really shocking. You see that on average, as of 2018, on average, municipalities, including metros, on average, the average spend on repairs and maintenance was about 1.4%. So which tells us then the crisis that we see in terms of the sewer spillages, in terms of potholes, in terms of all the challenges that you see. And what we have done, Chairperson, from national, in particular MISA, was to come up with a business case, Chairperson, for national government to consider repairs and maintenance allocation through a job slicing of MIG as a start. But we're looking at or looking into all other grants as well to slice a portion to focus on repairs and maintenance, precisely because of the recognition of the fact that the economy as it stands makes it very difficult for municipalities to make sufficient revenue to be able to make provision for repairs and maintenance. It's a crisis that this committee should also look at. And there was also another question about, of course, the impact of the MISA support. I will just make one point, a very important point for this committee to note, that to effectively deliver infrastructure, Chairperson, the municipality must have some internal engineering capacity. But this, in many of our municipalities, is not there. To illustrate the point, Chair, 8 metros have got more engineers. When I say engineers, I mean your engineering professionals, your technicians, your technologists, than all 44 districts, 205 municipalities combined. All metros have got 1,404 engineering professionals, but all 44 districts plus 205 local municipalities have 1,178 engineering professionals, technicians and technologists. And Etegwin alone, Chairperson, have got more engineering capacity than 5 provinces combined, including the metros, this case, Limpopo, Northwest, Free State, Eastern Cape, and Northern Cape. And this makes, Chairperson, the need for additional engineering support a prerequisite for the successful delivery of infrastructure in our municipalities. And only MISA is mandated currently to provide this type of support to municipalities. And if you look into the capacity of MISA in terms of its own internal capacity, we have got 85 engineering professionals and town and regional planners, which is not enough, Chairperson, looking into the number of municipalities that have got serious challenges. And these critical shortages, Chair, have also, of course, constrained MISA support efficacy and sustainability. In that when we move from one municipality to the other, the one that we were before, because of lack of internal capacity, will regress. So it's a real challenge that is there, Chairperson. I don't want to say Senzamanje, we are moving in the same mode of Senzamanje. If you look at Senzamanje, their capacity in terms of engineering capacity and hours, it was not necessarily the same. At MISA, we have got only professionally registered engineers, bachelor's degrees, who are very senior, who provide more strategic engineering capacity support in municipalities than technicians which were there and deployed by Senzamanje. And the allocation that DG spoke about of 554 million, if you look at it, Chairperson, is targeted at addressing repairs and maintenance using a labor-intensive method of construction. And again, it's appreciating the challenge that the Chairperson and the Honorable Peters of the challenge of repairs and maintenance. So that challenge is being addressed, and through this allocation, we'll be focusing exactly on that particular challenge. And with regard to the question regarding what is going to happen when the water tankers are withdrawn by water and sanitation, Chairperson, we are in discussions with the National Department of Water and Sanitation, as well as National Treasurer about this particular problem. Already some provinces have written to National Department raising the same problem that water and sanitation will be withdrawing water tankers. Now they were requesting the department to allow them to reprioritize MIG to buy water tankers as well. So that matter is still under consideration by the National Department. Then there was also another question, Chairperson, about the War on Leaks program, whether the program is still on or not. Chairperson, the program is still on. It is led by Water and Sanitation. They had a target of 15,000 War on Leaks agents trained, and they are still on course to achieve that particular target, Chairperson. And they are now implementing phase 3 of that program. However, I must indicate that there's been a serious challenges in municipalities with regard to the absorption of the qualified artisans and the water agents on this particular program, to a point that some of the water agents had to withdraw because they were not paid their stipends. However, the dispute with regard to the stipends and so forth is being attended to by the Department of Water and Sanitation. In terms of the actual support that we provide, Chairperson, we can, if we are given opportunity, Chairperson, come and present the portfolio committee to the committee, where we can share with the committee the support that we are providing to individual municipalities, the impact of our support, those municipalities where we have presence. And you'll appreciate, I will make an example, in 2018-19, we had a priority of 55 municipalities that were understanding on NIC, and one of the municipalities that were regarded as dysfunctional. And out of the 55 that we supported, 44 of those municipalities improved significantly. We have the records that we can come and share with the chairperson in regard to that.
Sorry, Doc, I'm not going to listen. Yeah.
Honorable, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vimba was still on the floor. Are you done, Mr. Vimba?
Yeah, I'm done. I hope I have answered most of the questions that relate to infrastructure.
Okay.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay, no. No, thank you, Chairperson. It's DG. I just wanted to then ask Mr. Temba Fosi to please respond on all the DDM-related questions, and also all the questions that relate to grants that are in his area, for example, the MED. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning.
Sorry, Chairperson. Excuse me, Mr. Temba, please. Chairperson?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes.
If Chair, I'm impressed by this breakdown in terms of the human resource availability, comparing metros with local municipalities and the district. If that could be in writing, Mr. Vimba, and submitted to Darren for further interaction, because it's going to assist us. Thanks, Chair.
Mr. Vimba, hope you noted that.
Yes, I've noted, Chair. Thanks.
Yeah, and I know it's one thing which is close to the hearts of the honorable members. We'll just note, we'll still get you back to the committee again, so that you can further interact on this matter. Yeah. Okay, please continue, Mr. Fosi.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and honorable members, and thanks for the opportunity, Chair.
I will be responding to a number of questions that were raised on the district development model, and then also on some of the questions that the chair raised in his last set of questions. Chair, just to say, firstly, the district development model, just to put a context to it, it is an intergovernmental expression of how we should achieve the constitutional obligations on cooperative governance. So it's a practical expression of the achievement of those obligations where all the three spheres must integrate, must coordinate their efforts and provide a coherent and a cohesive state action at a local level. And this district model, Chair, it's designed in a manner that allows for collaboration between the spheres in how they plan, in how they budget, and how they implement in an integrated way. So overall, it's meant to address some of the challenges that we've been experiencing of silos, of fragmentation, of duplication in how we interact as the three spheres. So the question that was asked about provinces are not featuring in the rollout, or there's parachuting of projects to districts without the province knowledge. That's exactly one of the objectives that the district development is addressing, because we are planning as one government. So in terms of the approach, Chair, that we're taking, we have done comprehensive profiles of the 52 spaces. The 52 spaces is the 8 metros and the 44 districts. We've done profiles of these spaces in terms of understanding the state of development of these areas, looking at a number of demographic indicators, state of poverty, population, skills, child-headed and woman-headed household, the performance of the economy of these areas. And now under COVID, we've also looked at the COVID information in terms of the readiness of these districts to respond to COVID. That state of development, it's an important baseline, Chair, that must inform all of government in how it responds to each space. So we know what the challenges of OR Tambo are, to an extent that we know if you want to trigger economic growth in OR Tambo, you need to look at the sector of agriculture, sector of tourism, and the oceans economy, because that's the untapped potential of that area at a macro level. But the district development model, we're not only looking at the macro level, we're also looking, Chair, at understanding community-based economic development initiatives, where we're able then to look at a local level, what are the kind of initiatives, whether through cooperatives, through training, provision of skills of the unemployed youth, women, so that people can also be empowered to start their own economic activities at a local level. But of course, you must look at broadly the macro sort of context in terms of the key sectors that can trigger growth in these areas. And that approach, we started with the 3 pilots, OR Tambo, Waterberg, and eThekwini. The idea of starting with the pilot was just to look at the lessons that we can draw from these 3, where we can then look at what are the challenges in terms of how the 3 spheres are planning, budgeting, and implementing together. And they're very insightful lessons that we have drawn from these pilots. But going forward, we will be rolling out to all the districts, and Cabinet has already also taken a decision that the government COVID response plans must be driven through the district development model. So we started only with the pilot at an establishment phase last year, but for this 2021, as I've indicated, we've done all the profiles of these 52 spaces. We are also requesting, Chair, the national and provincial departments to also specially give us their budget and plans in these spaces. Because for us, we need to understand what is the quantum overall of government spend in each district. Each department must be able to say, if you have a 300 million budget for human settlement, you must be able to give us a clear indication, where are you building those houses, which municipality, which area. And that's the approach that we're taking, that we're introducing and encouraging special budgeting, where we can be able then to know how much each department, each sphere is spending in each district. All of these, Chair, will be expressed in what we refer to as the one plan. This one plan, it will be an expression of government investments and plans in each district space. The one plans will not be replacing any of the planning instruments that are there. So the one plan won't be replacing IDPs, it won't be replacing APPs of national and provincial department. But that one plan will be a consolidation of what overall government is doing in that space. So I've dealt with the first two questions, Chair, and then the issue of how the district model addresses some of the questions that the Chair raises. We are still at an initial phases of this process, Chair. As you would know, the district development model was only launched beginning in the mid of last year, August, when Cabinet approved it, and then we started with the pilot. This year we will be rolling it out. So the successes at this stage, we can talk about the lessons that we've drawn from the three pilots, but also look at what are the plans that are emerging from the profiles in terms of what challenges are there and opportunities, and what needs to be done by all of government to respond to these challenges. And that's the opportunity that the district model provides, because in a more focused and targeted way, you have an overview of what the extent of the problem in each district, including the questions that you are asking, Chair. What are the 5 things that we need to change in local government? Our approach, if you take Waterberg as an example, those locals in that district have been having challenges with the audit outcomes. And the approach of the district model is to provide shared services where we'll deploy finance experts to assist with that particular challenge. So we've done a comprehensive capacity assessment. We know that there's challenges in terms of either infrastructure, in terms of engineers. We know there's finance challenges. So our shared services will be responding to those areas that have been identified as needing sort of dedicated support. On the issue of the metros, we will also be focusing, how do you unlock some of the challenges that the metros, so if you take a Tegwin, their economies for the past 10 years have been going down in terms of the sectors. The issue is, how do you unlock that? So the problem of the port is not a problem of the city. It can only be unlocked by DPE and Transnet. And processes are already underway with those departments involved, Transnet involved, the Department of Public Enterprise involved, to assist in actually addressing the problems of the port in Tegwin. So the district development model, Chair,
it brings all of government to respond to the developmental challenges that these municipalities are facing. But from our side as a quarter, we will focus on building the institutional capability of the municipality through this process. So the shared services, the district hubs that we're going to be establishing will be providing and augmenting the capacity that COCTA has, but to provide dedicated support to these municipalities. So in a way, it assists, as my colleague has said, it also assists in terms of oversight, because we'll be monitoring closely these district plans, one plans, and because we'll be deploying dedicated capacity to oversee, support, monitor the implementation of all of this government work. But in addition, Chair, the President has also appointed ministers and deputy ministers to be champions in these districts. So they will also be playing this facilitative role of working with the provinces, working with the municipalities. Where there are challenges, they will be assisting in unlocking those challenges. And the structures have been established for coordination. The District Command Council, the Provincial Command Council, and the national one will also be tapping into those COVID structures that have been established to ensure that the sharing of information, the reporting of the COVID response plans is done through these structures. So many of the issues that the chair was raising will be monitoring them through the district model. We are working, Chair, with the Treasury, with other sector departments to institutionalize this model. We're hoping that the success of this model, Chair, can be measured on the new paradigm and the new discipline that the district model is bringing, because it must introduce a new culture in how government operates. It must do away with the silos. It must do away with duplication. People must see value in the coordination and integration of the programs, and the appreciation of the local space as the only space where all of government implements. And if we're recognizing and appreciating that, it means our approach to coming to this space, it must come through integrated plans. And the one plan that we're talking about is a plan then that ensures that all of the investment programs of all the spheres are captured in one document, which recognizes the challenges, but also what needs to be done. There was a question, Chair, on also I think the MIG one, the cards, the CEO of MISA has responded to it. Maybe the one that was also asked on the DSD and COCTA, who is responsible for the homeless. This is a matter that is still being discussed. Treasury has been facilitating the discussions, but from our point of view, Chair, there's a constitutional schedules which allocates powers and functions, and this is not a local government function. But as part of the response to COVID and through the process that Treasury has facilitated, we are working with DSD in terms of how do we respond to the immediate challenges, so that we don't get bogged down to issues of contestation around jurisdiction and powers and function. But we're trying to work it more in an intergovernmental way to resolve it. But I can confirm that it's not a local government responsibility. I will also, Chair, just respond to one question which I see my colleague who's dealing with the CWP is not around. It's not necessarily my area, the issue of remodeling, if the DG allows. That remodeling, it will also look at comprehensively some of the issues that were raised by the honorable member, reviewing the allowances, the role of the NPOs. So it will be a new model altogether, which will give opportunities more to the participants than the number of days that they have now, but also even the kind of skills that they will be trained on, giving them more sustainable skills that they can actually, that will empower them to also start their own businesses or find job opportunities somewhere else. Chairperson, thank you very much. I think those were the questions that were. I know, Chair, I have not responded to on a scale of 1 to 10, but I tried to cover the issues of the district model without necessarily using the scale. Thanks.
You didn't want to put a red fine. Okay. Is the DG there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Maybe just a thank you to the team and for all their inputs. Perhaps I could also then just start our chairperson by talking to the meeting that was suggested, between SALGA, National Treasury and ourselves. The department will commit to ensuring that that meeting is undertaken. So that when we speak about local government, Chair, that we begin to have one mindset around it, but also just have one view on how it is that we all support each other to ensure that we have greater success in local government. The other point which I just then talk to Chair is the one where you asked a specific sorry, I want to just check the Honourable Chair's name, where we were asked to look at what are the 5 things that COGTA needs to do to assist in changing the face of local government. Now, the team has responded firstly in 2 ways. One was around the audit outcomes and how we needed to actually strengthen oversight in relation thereto. The second one was with Temba responding particularly around the DDM and what it will bring to local government in order for us to actually respond to building capacity and capability at that level through shared services in our district hubs. From a departmental perspective, Chair, what we also then intend to do is strengthen ourselves internally so that we are able to better support local government. And firstly, we want to actually turn around the department's financial situation. In previous financial year, we were sitting with a disclaimer, and what we then intend to do is to really review the financial position, look at the audit outcomes in relation thereto, and just ensure that the management of finances are then improved. Because indeed, as the parent department, we believe we should also lead by example, in our support back to local government. The second big issue for us, Chairperson, is for us then to also look at the grants as they are dispensed, into our local government, and how our funding model would need to actually be able to also support that. We want to specifically look at the whole concept around smart cities, how we then intend to digitize our approach going forward in collaboration with other government entities such as the CSIR. We are still at our infancy in relation hereto, but we do believe that this whole approach would also then help us, when it comes to implementation of our one plan at district level. So we do also plan to look at local government, not only in the short term, linked back to our strategic plan, but rather to also look at it more long term over the next 25 years, just to see what exactly should a local government, let me call it entity, look like. Of course, support the immediate financial year, we definitely need to look at our project around the employment stimulus package as pronounced by the presidency. We also think that that is absolutely critical. And then, of course, just redesigning the whole CWP, because that would also then support us with our whole financial situation. But maybe, Chair, just to also add that with regards to the audit outcomes in each of the municipalities, clearly there is a leadership effectiveness issue, which then specifically also talks to how human resources are managed within the municipalities, linked back to governance, and of course overarching basic controls are definitely lacking. So within the institutional development area of the department, we need to come up with an approach or a strategy that would then just assist us in strengthening the capacity and capability issue around the local government. And of course, we know that behavioral issues are indeed not easy to deal with or overcome. But of course, with good leadership, we are certain that this can also be turned around. Chair, I think that most of the other questions were responded to by the teams. The one just around the comment on what will SALGA do with the Western Cape, you know, and just around the bus, the rapid bus transportation system. I think, you know, we would possibly need to engage SALGA with that and maybe come back to the committee. And just the other question around whether we had a tool that would look at impact assessment, the overall impact assessment of municipalities. I don't believe we have such a tool. I don't think any of our team members have responded to that, but that is something that we can certainly consider and look at going into the future. So it's something that I believe that we will note and see how we can then link it to some of the key projects that we are required to deliver upon change. Another question that was not responded to was the what will happen with regards to Maluti Apafong and the water issue here. Perhaps Mr. Zimba might be able to come in on that one, but I just thought it was a question that we still needed to respond to. But I think other than that, Chair, perhaps this is where I can then just leave it. And we want to just say thank you so much again for the interaction and the engagement.
Thank you so much, Director General. Honorable members, I'll allow 2 names if there's something you really want to stress with before we let the DG and the team go. Anybody?
Yes, Chair.
Who's that?
Kaiso.
Honorable Kaiso and Honorable Joseph.
Joseph, yeah.
Okay, just the 2 of you. Honorable Kaiso.
Yes, Chair. I wanted to, I'm partly covered with the issue of the community works program. So long as that revision will address the question of centralization versus decentralization. Now, the issue that I was chasing, it was around the threat by the Department of Water and Sanitation to withdraw trucks, water tanks in Maluti Apofo. So I didn't get the quite elaborative explanation as to that intervention, because it brings about a crisis. You can imagine the situation there was actually in a crisis before the COVID pandemic in terms of water delivery services. Now, if the water and sanitation departments withdraw those water tanks, what is going to happen to the people, the local people there? Thank you very much.
Joseph?
Thank you, Chair. I just would like the DG or one of the senior officials' opinion on the government's wage agreement which COSATU have raised, which also infects municipal workers. I'm still concerned about that according to them, COSATU, there was an agreement which government or National Treasury is walking away with, which in my opinion can cause a disaster in the country. Would like to know if COCTA is part of, was also consulted or not, or if they can play a role. And then the other concern, municipalities that do not pay the staff, the workers. I know they go to Treasury, but what is COCTA's view and role ensuring that people who work in municipalities do get their salaries? Thank you, Chairperson.
Director General.
No, thank you so much, Chairperson. Perhaps the one that I can respond to immediately is about the government wage agreements and how this affects wages and the impacts it could have in the country. Let me just say that SALGA is clearly taking the lead on that. I have been briefed on it at a high level, but what I can do is have some further discussions with the CEO on a role that we could possibly play. But for now, my understanding is that all the processes from a legal perspective that are also being unfolded and are really in order. But I do understand the concern that's being raised, you know, if they did go on strike, what would it mean for the country? So I will consult a little bit more with the CEO. Just with regards to the threat of withdrawal of water trucks from Aluti Upper Farm, I'd like to ask one of the team members to maybe just respond on that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, DG. Earlier, I did respond to the matter, Chair. Maybe I wasn't that much clearer to indicate that indeed water and sanitation did indicate the fact that they had hired or loaned those trucks to respond to COVID issue challenges in municipalities. And initially, those trucks, the intention was to buy them by water and sanitation. But what they've indicated is that they are not going to hand them over to municipalities, even if they, at the end, buy them. They will keep them within their regional offices to respond as and when there are drought-related issues. And following that, the municipalities through various provinces, KZN, for instance, and Northern Cape, wrote to National KZN, wrote to National Department requesting that perhaps we allow municipalities to reprioritize the municipal infrastructure grant to be able to purchase for themselves the water tankers should water and sanitation withdraw. But water and sanitation have not as yet withdrew those trucks, Chair. The discussion with regard to that request is taking place between our National Department and Treasury as well as water and sanitation. Thanks, Chairperson. It is not necessarily respond directly to Maluti Upperform, Chair. I'm just responding broadly in terms of how that particular matter is being addressed.
Thank you so much, DG and your team. And I must say, and I'm yes, can you please mute? Can you please mute? There's a feedback that I'm getting. There's a feedback that, yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I wanted just to thank the DG, the DM, and the minister in absentia. I think we really had a very empowering engagement, and a lot of issues that we raised, at least if we didn't get answers, we got an impression that they are being attended to. I think an important thing for me is that at least the DG and your team, you are aware of the challenges, because they say, how can you fix it if you don't know what it is that is the problem? So at least it's a good starting point that the problems are well appreciated. And I think if the DDM model were to be implemented, I think there's a lot that we can get, because Honorable Peters will remember that one of the biggest problems that you have is silo approach to areas. Even just from national, you'll come to a place, you find that there have been, let me say, there would have been a Department of Agriculture, and they come with a project, they leave. But there is water is not there, water is not being part of the thing, or perhaps the market is not there. Just at a national level, I don't even want to talk about when you put in the province and you put in the local government, that becomes really, really problematic. I think if we're, and then you end up having a lot of money being invested in a particular municipality, but there is no impact to the recipients of the services from government, because we didn't approach that place in a cooperative way as different levels of government. We've got the same clients, our people who reside in localities. So that's very important. And DG would like to see sometime down the line a city which would say a before and after, before DDM and after DDM, to say that's what we have achieved in this city or in this town or in this locality, so that we can always take people to go and see. You know, it always helps to see that that's what you can achieve if you were to follow this this approach to development. We can't do development in an isolated and in a compartmentalized way. We need to work as a unit. Lastly, DG, I think if there's one area which is very important, which is the foundation of the many things that you are doing, can we please get the finances of local government in order? Can we just get them in order, and also do these small things just to clean the town and so on, to see that DDM and National Court has arrived, and when people get into a town or into a city, they can see, can make a difference. I always listen to people, you know, they will say, hey, this town is clean, just as, and so you hear somebody commenting about a town which is clean without seeing anything else, and that doesn't need a lot of investment. But thank you very much, and one thing I will await those things that you promised, or your team promised to send us in writing. Please do that. But as I said, I can promise you that you are still going to interact, and all of the best with your new responsibility, DG. It's quite a serious responsibility. But thank you very much. You may still remain. We still have got one or two matters that.
Malibongwe. Malibongwe.
We
power to the woman too.
Yes, no, we agree. And DG, rest assured, we'll have a lot of support from this committee if you are seen to be moving in the right direction. But thank you very much. You may remain, or if you decide, if you want to leave, you are free to do so. Honourable members, we'll go to the next agenda item, which is looking at the minutes of the 14th of July, 2020.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah, I'll just allow you to access those minutes. As I always say, I won't be going page by page. If you have made any amendments to the minutes, feel free to tell us which page you want us to amend.
Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Lenzana.
The only thing which I have noted with these minutes,
yes,
but noted with joy,
yes,
is that I couldn't believe when I didn't see that column on either apologies or absent. And I took time to check as to whether wasn't there any mistake, only to prove that in reality, all members of the committee were present. It's only the alternates which were absent. Hence, you have got only present in terms of the credentials. I was very happy, Chairperson, for that. Otherwise, I went through the minutes and I was satisfied. Hence, I may move that we adopt that.
President,
Okay. Which conference are you preparing for? We are now talking about credentials. Honorable Joseph.
Well, Chairperson, thank you. Now, thanks. I am satisfied with the minutes. I just want clarity on 6.2, which indicates the committee's concerns about exorbitant prices being asked for delivery of goods and services to the state. Now, to the state means everything, all departments. I just want to know, was it for, this was not directly to a specific department, or was it the general to all departments or to the state? Just want, as it says here. Just want to confirm that. Thank you.
It was definitely to all the departments, to all levels of government, whoever buys PPEs. So it's a true reflection of them.
Thank you, Chair. I would second Member Zola's proposal.
Okay, can you then adopt, the minutes are thus adopted. Thank you. Thank you to the Secretariat for minutes well documented. That was agenda item number 5. Darren?
Chairperson.
Anything from your side? We're now number 5 in announcements you want to make?
Nothing, Chair.
When is the next meeting? And
tomorrow at 9, Department of Basic Education and Department of Small Business Development.
So we're meeting 2 departments.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, who's that?
On that, thank you, Darren. Are we dividing the time equally for the 2 departments? Because remember, the 2 major budget is education and health. Just for clarity, or are we just going to allow them equal time and then see what we can do within that time? Thank you.
Okay, just repeat, Darren, which departments are we meeting tomorrow?
It's basic education and small business development. We already saw health.
Okay. Yeah. Who's not muting? Somebody. I think it's Cooperative. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll divide time equitably between the two departments, Honorable Joseph. Okay. Thank you. So that's agenda item number 6. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye, colleagues. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, leadership.
Thank you. Good luck with your conference, Honorable Mlenzana.
Thank you, Chair. He's busy lobbying.
Besang ama credential.
Kim Keteng.
I don't know the order. I see no the order.
She's mute, Chair.
Oh, she's mute. Okay. She's not even hearing us. Okay. That's fine. Okay, now you're responding. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, Chairperson and members. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.